Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to LA2M. I don't have the strongest voice today. I'm coming out of a flu. Did anyone else get that flu? Oh my gosh, I was knocked out for like a week. Anyway, I'm back. And it's funny because the flu hit right after I was on vacation for a week, which is always like weird. But so thank you to Mary Lou for covering last week. Did anyone come out last week to see Chris Kamansky? Oh yeah. Was it good? Yeah. Good presentation? Okay, great. Yeah, I heard there was lots of good ideas generated, and that's how I always judge a talk, is by ideas that I get. So my name's Derek Maribon. Most of you know me. I'm up here with Stacy Colick from Delagold Printing. You should know her if you don't. This is LA2M, which used to be Lunch and Arbor Marketing, but we don't say that anymore because LA2M is much more global, right? And people can figure out what it means, LA2M. But we're a marketing education group. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We've been around this is our 6th year. My goodness. And amazingly, people show up every week. It's the modern miracle that people just come. If they say if you build it, they will come. They come. And I think they also come with the great speakers. I mean, we have really smart people speaking here. It is free to come to LA2M. If you want lunch, it's $10. That goes to Conor O'Neill's. See some of you are enjoying your lunches. And if you want to help support us, as I said, we're 501c3. So we are user supported, right? We're user supported. And we pass the hat. We suggest a $5 donation. You don't have to donate if you don't want to, but if you feel like you get some value and it's worth $5, feel free to throw something in the hat. We appreciate it. We do have some hard costs. For one thing, we get speakers, a shirt, right, which is cool. So we're gonna, you want to present that, Tom, real quick? Tom, come on up and get your shirt.
Yeah. Now you have to wear it next week.
We're gonna take a quick picture with the shirt. There we go. So we get the speaker shirts.
I'm just so excited.
But we have an employee. We have Mary Lou Olds is our one employee. She's wonderful, and she really runs things behind the scenes. But we have volunteers, like Carter volunteers every week. Roger Rayle volunteers every week to live stream. I mean, this is big. I mean, people give a lot of time, and anyways, Lauren and Aaron volunteer to do the Twitter every week. I mean, there's lots of things going on every week. So a lot of people help out. So thank you to everybody who helps out. Sorry, my energy's so low. Maybe I should just cut my monologue short. So today we have our sponsor. Is our sponsor here? Okay, I'm going to tell you, our sponsor is Let's Go Marketing. Leslie McGraw is our sponsor. And you can look her up at Let's Go Social Media Marketing. She's wonderful. She's in our newsletter. She sponsored the program. We get a lot of our support through sponsors too. So if anybody does want to sponsor, it's only $250 for the month. And you get the newsletter, which goes out to, how many people does it go out to?
About 1,700 people.
Yeah, about 1,700 people in Southeast Michigan. That's a pretty nice targeted group of people. We get a pretty good open rate because we're not really selling. We're giving, we're giving away all this good information. So if you want to sponsor, and I think we're booked. Are we booked through the year now?
We still have June open.
Okay, we have June open, but
and also the summer, and then starting into the fall.
Okay, yeah, at least the summer and fall. So it's a never-ending sponsorship opportunity. So if you have a business that you think would like to reach out to 1,700 people in Southeast Michigan, you also get a chance to promote your business in person at the events. So please talk to Mary Lou Olds. Yes. And the format of this meeting, is there anyone here for the first time? Did I ask that? First timers? Okay. Thank you, first timers. Thank you for coming. I'm usually more enthusiastic. But first timers, you gotta like us on Facebook, follow us on LinkedIn. You can follow along on Twitter at LA2M. All these talks are archived. They're all on the website. So if you want to learn something, you can go back and learn something. And the format is the speaker talks for around 30 minutes. There's usually some Q&A. And then at 12:45, you get to introduce yourself. So plan your little introduction. It's not too long, it's just really your name and your company and if you're looking for something. So, all right, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our speaker. Tom has been a long time supporter of LA2M. He's spoken here before. He's a great guy, he's very talented. He does these wonderful presentations. So he's going to teach about presentations, but he's coached TEDx presenters on how to present. So he's very good at your visual presentation for yourself. He's good at design for your presentation. He's also a design instructor at Michigan State University. He teaches mobile app building, which is great. So he's teaching future generations of kids to do what's so important, designing the mobile space. And he also designs his own mobile apps, which is great. I've worked with him on numerous projects. He also, Jesus, what the hell doesn't he do? He also plays in the NBA. No. He also, what did he do? Oh yeah, this happy hour thing. Yeah, see, I don't even drink, but I support this. He built this happy hour app that'll tell you where happy hour is, which is really cool. And you should all download it. I mean, why not? It's all, Lansing is all set up, right? Is Ann Arbor set up yet?
Ann Arbor, FC, Lansing, Detroit.
Okay, Ann Arbor, FC, Lansing, Detroit, check that out. So you can go onto his app and see where the happy hours are based on your location, which is killer. What's it called?
Happy hour.
Happy hour. What an inventive idea. What a creative name. But you know, we know it's all about what people search for, right? So, anyways, that's enough for me. Please, let's get some applause for Tom Crawford here from VizNetwork.
Can everybody hear me? Is the mic on?
Mic's not on.
It's not on?
But I can hear you.
Well, I can certainly project. That's not going to be a problem. It says green, so I will just keep talking and we'll project and see where we go. So, there we go. That sounded like a little bit of volume. Better now?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Then I don't have to shout as much. So today's presentation is about designing good presentations. The problem I see, and it happens here at LA2M every once in a while and happens in other places as well, that people have this amazing message that they want to deliver, and then the slides that they put up there are so horrible that you get distracted by the slide and you try to figure out what the slide's saying and not what they're saying, and that can be a real problem for your message. And it doesn't matter really whether it's a presentation. When Derek was running through the litany of things I get involved in, they may sound different, but I don't actually believe they really are. Design is design is design. So if you're doing print design, or you're doing web design, or you're doing mobile app design, or in this case, presentation design, the principles largely fall across all of them. There will certainly be device-based specifics or delivery method specifics, but the general principles are pretty much the same. So today our goal is to get through the things that get in the way of your message, get them out of the way and let your message come out. So, with that, let's start with a few questions. How many people in here give presentations? Any size? 5 to 500 or 5,000? Okay. How many people have one soon? Excellent. Excellent. So hopefully you can apply some of these. And for the people who have, can you shout out some of your typical audiences? Who do you present to? Clients. Clients? Okay, so you're doing a sales pitch, or a product update pitch, or a process update, or something like the service update. What else?
Technical conference.
Technical conference. Okay, excellent. So large audience, people who are familiar with what you're talking about, so you're talking to fellow experts, largely. Board of directors, so moving up, telling progress, telling results, things like that. Excellent. What else? Group meetings, so team meetings. Here, either people working for you or with you, one other way, so people who are familiar. So those are all very typical audiences. And it really is kind of important to know your audience. So we're going to start, before we get to the design stuff, because if you're going to design, you should design for your audience. So let's talk about that just a little bit, and storytelling and how to design for your audience. So, before I get going though, I should reference that a lot of what you're going to hear is built on the shoulders of giants. These people are amazing. I happen to be lucky enough to be friends with all of them pretty much. Nancy Duarte wrote Slideology. I highly, highly recommend that book, especially if you want to get into design. It's called Slideology. It's available at all the local bookstores. She also wrote Resonate, which was a follow-up to that. Slideology is more about the design pieces to an extent. Resonate is more about the storytelling pieces. Cliff Atkinson wrote a book called Beyond Bullet Points. That's an amazing book as well, especially for how to tell your story, how to craft it, to put the pieces together. And then Gara Reynolds, I believe I have up there, yes, Presentation Zen. So those are all amazing books. They do amazing work. In fact, all of them, their whole job is designing presentations, so they're clearly the experts. Okay, so there's going to be a couple points in here where I will stop and say, if you remember one thing from today, this is the thing I want you to remember. This is one of those. So right up at the top, I'm going to give you the thing that's going to change your presentations, hopefully forever. This is the single biggest mistake people make. The reality is, a lot of people use PowerPoint, and I'm going to use PowerPoint as a generic holder for a presentation tool. It could be Keynote. It works exactly the same. I'm using Keynote today. You can make just as many bad mistakes with Keynote as you can with PowerPoint. It's not a tool thing. But many people use PowerPoint, and they fill everything they've got on it, right? They throw every word they're going to say. It's a script in some cases. It's a document. And there's nothing wrong with using PowerPoint to create a document. It's a very powerful, extremely powerful layout tool. There's a lot of amazing things. In fact, Nancy's book, Slideology, was designed 100% in PowerPoint. She laid out the entire book in PowerPoint. Nothing wrong with using that for a document. But then, other people use it as a teleprompter. The thing that they're going to say, and they read word for word off that, and the audience is reading it just like they're reading the teleprompter. Again, there's nothing wrong with using PowerPoint as a teleprompter. It has a notes section that, by the way, can be projected to a teleprompter. But your audience doesn't need to see that either. Really what it should be is the presentation, the visual support that goes along with your message. You'll notice even on this slide, I only have 4 words, if you count Slidegement as a word. So in that particular case, you use the visual to support what you're saying. So, this is the big takeaway for this first section. Design for what you're doing. If you're going to write a document, great. If you're going to hand it to somebody and they're going to walk away with it, a takeaway, or you're going to send it to them in advance, that's awesome. Create a beautiful document that they can use, and you can use PowerPoint to do it. But don't put that document up on the screen. Number 2, if you need a teleprompter, that's also great. Make yourself a teleprompter, use the notes section or get an official teleprompter. There's plenty of free software on the web for every platform. And use a teleprompter, but don't put your teleprompter up on the screen. Instead, design the slides to help communicate your message. Okay, so having said that, we have 3 basic components to a presentation. We have the audience, the presenter, and then the message, or the presentation itself. Which do you think is the most important of those 3?
Message.
The message. Some people are saying the message. Somebody else said the audience, the clients, the people you're speaking to. In my opinion, the answer actually is the audience, right? It doesn't matter if I have anything to say. I know what I'm going to say. I already have my opinion, so I can just stay home and I don't have to do anything about that. It's where you are. You came to learn something today, theoretically, and from there, you are the most important people in this room. So, to craft the message and to be able to deliver it appropriately, the first thing and the most important thing you need to know is your audience. So we won't do it today. In a larger workshop, we would go through and help you figure out who your audience is, how to target them, how to connect with them. But that's that. So if that was number 1, we only have 2 to choose from, so it's a A-B choice here. The message or the presenter? You say the message. Anybody else have a different opinion?
Presenter.
Yeah, hey, that would be the only other opinion. So yes, in my view, it's actually the presenter. In the end, I don't have to have slides. These are helping me, but I could actually deliver this without them. I could sit down with a piece of paper with you. Certainly the message, the overall main point matters a lot, but until I'm able to make a connection with you and to begin to create that relationship, the message won't matter. So you have to get past that first. So the idea is really to find that common ground between you as the presenter and the audience that you're presenting to, and then increase the amount of common ground, to find as much as you possibly can between them and yourself and the audience, so that the message will resonate more effectively. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And then finally, and I hope nobody misses this, the third most important then would be the message. Very nice. All right, so that is the most important. So now we're going to focus in on the message. if we had time, we would go through and we would say, who's the audience, who's the speaker, how do we find the overlap, get all that lined up. So let's assume we've done that. If you're giving a presentation, most presentations, not all, if you're doing it for entertainment only, which nobody mentioned, but in most cases, you're trying to move your audience from some place where they are to another place where you want them to be. So the idea with this is to figure out where your audience is. Are they just looking for an update and they need to know if they don't have all the information, they need more? That's one type of movement. Or are they resistant and you need to bring them around and convince them? Do they need to make a decision? What is it they need to do? From confused to clear, to skeptical to hopeful, some way you need to move them from some place to another place. So identifying that will help your message come out. Cliff in his book talks about the 3-act play. I don't know if you guys remember this from junior high school, right? You have the pretty much standard exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, denouement, resolution kind of thing. You have that story. This story format has worked for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And there's a reason for that. People like that challenge, that climax, that apex, that solution. It feels good to them. So the idea here is instead of fact in your presentation, how do you move them from where they are to where you want them to be step by step through the presentation. So here's a common disaster story. It's an ordinary day, child falls down a well, the town gathers, there's a struggle, they save the child, everybody celebrates, but it's just a little bit better than where you started because everybody came together to solve the problem. It's a very common story format. You'll see it all over the place. This is from Kurt Vonnegut. He talks about it in one of his books. You can read about all of the ones he goes through if you want to read in depth about story form. Here's one, just because I'm a geek, I couldn't resist throwing this one in. This is Star Wars Episode 4 for the geeks, the original. So what happens at the beginning? You have this normal state. No, wait, no, the princess is captured, but the droids escape. It gets a little better. Oh, they find Obi-Wan, even a little bit better, but, oh, family's killed. That's not so good. But they escape, and he trains. Oh, but Alderaan's destroyed, and they're all captured. Oh, but then they rescue the princess and they escape. Oh, but then Obi-Wan's killed, and oh, the Death Star is destroyed, and they all celebrate and they get awards, right? Lucas, for all his downfalls in the geek community, you might want to, for the geeks in the room, you might not like all of his stuff. He is a master at this format of, you continually move, in his view, you can see this through all 6 movies, you have something good, and then you have something bad. And the next good is a little better than the previous good, and the next bad is a little less bad than the previous bad, and it just has that sawtooth design. And then if you look at all 6 of his movies, all 6 movies follow the sawtooth design, right? You have Episode 4, which is good, Empire Strikes Back, which is bad, Return of the Jedi, which is good, right? So he puts that sawtooth even into the overarching story. It's fascinating. Now you may say, how does that apply to me? Well, you have that choice. When you're designing your presentation, you can choose how you move through. What's good, what's bad, what things are moving up and down. Because never, when you're presenting to the board, despite the fact that you might want to bury some of the stuff, there's bad stuff almost all the time. Rarely are you going to be able to present an entirely positive message. So something's bad, and they're probably going to want to know that anyway, just so they don't feel like you're glossing over the bad stuff, right? You probably shouldn't hide it. So in that case, where do you put it? And it can depend, because sometimes you might want to leave them on the down note. Hey, things are really tough right now, salespeople. We need you to get out and hustle. We need you to work hard, and if we don't, we're going to have to do something about that. So get out there and sell them. Or, this is the most amazing thing ever. We've got great new products. We want you to sell everything you possibly can. Those are both different endings to the same story, and it just depends on how you want to leave them. What is the story you're trying to tell? So paying attention to story form is important. Also, the structure. So I'm a geek. That should have been established already, I think. I love data. I love charts and graphs. I teach whole sessions on charts and graphs. If you're going to do that, you need to balance for the other part of your audience that almost definitely is not the geek. Now, in any audience, even an audience of all geeks who love data, there are still people who like the emotional storytelling side. So how do you bring that in? Because all of us, none of us, said better, are anywhere on the extremes of the section, of the spectrum. We're somewhere in between. So how do you create a balance? So if you see that all your slides are data, logic, structure, maybe a story, an example, something that will bring out that same data point, but in a case study might be helpful. So look at the balance that you're doing. And lastly, look for the opportunity for a star moment. This is Nancy's term, Nancy Forte. It stands for something they'll always remember, the star moment. These are 6 classic ones. Steve Jobs was amazing at this. He did it every time. Oh yeah, by the way, at the end of the presentation, very last thing, there were 10 minutes left, so you knew he wasn't quite done yet. But everybody seemed to be surprised every time. Oh look, I have an iPod Nano in my jean coin pocket. Or what could possibly be in this envelope? That's the picture there. Oh, this interoffice envelope can hold the MacBook Air. And then, the audience explodes, right? So they would explode no matter what it was, but I use Macs. Or Martin Luther King, his was repetition, right? I have a dream, I have a dream, I have a dream, I have a dream. If you don't know what that speech was about when you're done, you really missed the point. He used repetition in that particular speech very well. I'm not going to go through all of the other ones. I do want to use the Bill Gates one though. That's Bill Gates at TED, the big TED conference. TEDx happens April 5th? Friday, April 5th here in Ann Arbor, TEDx U of M. Highly recommend you sign up for that. Some amazing speakers coming down. But anyway, Bill Gates was at the big TED conference out in California. He was speaking about malaria. Bill is a horrible presenter. One of the worst presenters I've ever seen. He's gotten better. This particular presentation, the slides were awful, but his star moment was fascinating. He was talking about malaria to an audience of 7,000 fundamentally rich people who paid 2,000 people who paid $7,000 to be there to listen to various speakers. That's a lot of money, so you have a very different audience than your normal audience in that case. And he was talking about malaria and wanted them to get passionate and involved with it. And this whole time he had a glass box sitting on the stage beside him and on a little podium. And he said, I think the only way for you to understand malaria is for you all to go to Africa and see the impacts of it. But despite the fact that I'm a billionaire, I can't take you all there. So I thought maybe the next best way would be to bring malaria back to you. And then he opens the box, and theoretically the malaria-laden mosquitoes fly out, and you hear the audience gasp. You can go watch this on the website. You hear the audible gasp that, oh no, Bill Gates just tried to kill us. And most people would believe that. So it was a very effective method, and I guarantee you every person in that room remembers that story and will continue to feel a little bit of stress that they felt at that moment, which they wouldn't have before. There's another method, too, that works. And that's turning off the slides completely. Bring down the tone of the room. People get quiet. Tell a real deep, heartfelt, emotional story. Bring people to tears even when you're not talking about anything at all. Because that tenor change can really change the mood in the room. So even without doing something big and bombastic, you can really give people something to remember in that moment. Okay, one last tip. Nancy covers this in Resonate. She looked at every major speech that she could possibly get her hands on. Gettysburg Address, I Have a Dream. She went through dozens, if not hundreds of speeches, and came up with this concept that all of them, all of the best speeches, had something in common. And it was this. They all started with what is, the world that we have today. And then they talked about what could be. And then in between, there's a gap. What is and what could be. Now, if you think about I Have a Dream, since that's probably one of the more familiar speeches, he started off with, here's what's going on around us today. I have a dream. The I Have a Dream was when he transitioned up the gap and into what the future could be. Back to today. Back to what could be. Back to today. Back to what could be, creating that vision. And then at the end is the call to action, and what happens if we do the call to action, we have a reward. And then if you go through and figure out where your star moment hits, and, oops, it's not there, oh, it doesn't show up on the screen. It's really hard to see right here. There are red and blue lines on there showing where you have data versus emotion. So how is your presentation balanced between how many facts are you showing versus how many stories are you telling and trying to create that balance? So then you can analyze your entire presentation to make sure you're not all future, not all current. How's your balance? Okay, so if we know all that, then we have to think about design. So, this is probably the second big takeaway of the day. Design differently for different formats. If you're potentially going to run into people on a train or on a bus, and they might be potential clients, and you're going to use your phone to do the demo because you want to do it in the moment, your presentation better not be formatted for the big screen because they won't be able to read it. So maybe a phone-sized presentation or a tablet-sized presentation might be different. Or maybe you have a paper-based presentation. Each one of those formats deserves its own design and reformat for that methodology. So take the time, if the possibility is going to exist that you're going to deliver this in multiple formats, to redesign and not reuse. It's fine to reuse, some of the stuff we'll go over, but take the time to look at the format and the delivery method. One-on-one is very different delivery than 1 to 3,000 at a conference. You know, if I'm going to sit across from you, getting out my projector and putting that up on the wall seems way overdone. Maybe paper is perfectly legit for that. Maybe it's not, maybe you just want it on your laptop or your tablet. So thinking about the format. My ultimate pet peeve. I can't tell you how many presentations I've heard this in. I know you can't read this, but. If you ever say that in a presentation, other than the meta presentation that I'm giving right now, that is the sign that that slide needs to be redone right now. If they can't read it, then why did you put it up there? It's completely and utterly pointless. The ultimate pet peeve, I think this is the thing in the presentations that drives me crazy. And now, you're not going to put up the tax table in most cases, unless, you know, a couple of you I know are finance people, so maybe that would come up. But here's a real slide from a real presentation of a client of mine. And yes, they put this up on the screen and said, I know you can't read this, but I'm going to read it to you. This is a massive opportunity for editing. And if you need this as a takeaway, like we said at the beginning, write it as a takeaway. Hand it to them so they've got all the details, but don't put all the details up on screen, because right now all of you are trying to read this and see what it's about, and it has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm saying. And that cognitive dissonance means that you are likely to miss the message. Your audience will miss the message because you read faster than I can read this to you. And you're going to be at a different spot, and your mind's hearing different things, and you will absolutely be confused. And here's another one, another client slide. Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of good government client slides, so you're going to see a lot of examples of those. Next thing for design, one idea per slide. Both of the previous slides, actually all three of the previous slides, the bad examples, all failed in this. Not only could you not read it, but there were too many ideas on the slide. One idea per slide. And that also then therefore means edit. I should add a few more edits in there. And no bullets. Because if you only have one idea, you only have one bullet, so you don't really need a bullet. So you could kill bullets by just putting one idea per slide. So here's one. This slide actually does only have one idea, but there's a whole lot of text on it. So a very bad example of that. We're going to come back to that. With that, then, how do you display it? Well, you use a dominant image. Pick the image that's going to display that one idea the most effectively for you. So here's one. This is a bad design of a presentation. I also have an app for cooking called VizChef. When I was out running that around the thing, I was talking about onions and the size of onions and the fact that a large onion in a recipe means absolutely nothing. Well, how big is a large onion? All three of those onions were bought the same day at 3 different stores in Ann Arbor, and that was the largest white onion they had. Okay, so how different is your recipe going to taste if you have that? That's that slide, that's that story. The problem is, and you've all seen that done, it's hard to read, you really don't know what it's talking about. So what if you reformatted it like this? The onion becomes the dominant image. The only thing that's important out of that recipe is the word large. So that's the only thing there. You show it in context. Instantly you can tell that this story is something about large onions. You may not know the rest of the details to it, which I'm going to fill in with the color commentary, but now you know what's going on here. Or just as bad, people who distort the image, squeeze it in. Oh, it drives me crazy. And especially on this slide's even, projector's even worse because it actually distorts, as Roger and I were talking about. So here's one. Client did this. This was from that same presentation we saw earlier. Oh, I've got to fit this pyramid in, but I've got all that text, so I'm going to squeeze it into the space that I have. Best intentions, you can't read it. The text becomes awful. It's all too small. That slide needs to be completely redone. If that pyramid's important, kill all the text and put the pyramid in, and do it as a build and lots of things like that. Here's another one. What do you think this one is going to be about?
Idaho.
Idaho or potatoes? Yeah. I mean, elephants? Did someone say elephants? Now, what if I do this? What's this about? Again, no title on here, right? There's not one word of text.
Potato famine.
Huh?
Potato famine?
Potato famine sales, some change has happened over time, and it's pretty dramatic.
Too late.
Now, if I label this, all I'd have to put in is sales or famine. One word, and all of the context comes to this. You can get the entire story from just a photo or some other image, and a little bit of data, and maybe a title to tell your story. So again, pick the one image, the one idea per slide to help tell your story. Designed to a grid. So here's a standard grid, 4x3, right? 4x4? 4x4. 4x4 grid, you can divide it up however you want. In the US and other countries, you typically read in what is called the Z pattern. So that means you should put your most important thing up in the upper left corner, and your conclusion or your least important thing in the lower right corner. What do we almost always put in the upper left corner of our presentations?
The title.
The title, one, or logo. Is my logo the most important thing for you to know, and do I need to tell you every slide that VizNetwork presented this, VizNetwork presented this, VizNetwork presented this, VizNetwork presented this? You got it, all right? It was on my first slide, it'll be on my last slide. You don't need that on every slide. You read roughly on the diagonal, said differently. So your most important thing should be in the upper left. Now, also said differently, what this implies is that every object should be aligned to something else. So if you're going to put something on the screen, and there are going to be two things on the screen, somehow they should be aligned to each other. Center, left, right, something. If you have 20 objects, they should all be aligned to each other in some way or some form. It will make it more visually pleasing just by taking the time to visually line them up. Having said that, there are a ton of grids. That 4x4 grid is maybe one of the most basic. Find that grid and use it all the way through your presentation. Every slide, find one pattern and use it all the way through. The titles should be aligned up from slide to slide. So this is talking about alignment between slides. If you're going to use a title and you're flipping through quickly, that title shouldn't be bouncing around from slide to slide. It will drive people crazy, but they won't know why. And that's one of the problems. People, in fact, all of this design stuff, one of the things that really gets to them is that people get annoyed. You ever get annoyed in the middle of the presentation, but not by the content, and you can't tell why? Almost always it's one of these things. It's not on a grid, it's not aligned, they use different font sizes, different colors, things like that. Here's the logos on every slide. Notice how much wasted space is on here. If you can't use that border space, you now have not a whole lot of room to put your content. So you've just squeezed your content down into what is probably 70% of the screen. You just wasted all that screen real estate. And on a mobile device, that becomes even more relevant, right? Because you only have so much real estate in the first place. Here's this is actually a PowerPoint template, not to slam on PowerPoint. Keynote has just as many bad templates. Look how much space is wasted on this one, right? All that space is not usable. Okay, color. Color is just as important as all of these things. Color can really help you aid in search. You can see between the two images, this is the DC Metro. If you've ever traveled to DC Metro, can you imagine trying to figure out where you're going if there wasn't color? It'd be very, very difficult, so it can help you with search. It can also help you convey structure, convey feeling. This is the obvious one, red, bad, green, good. Contrast, 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 and worry about contrast on different projectors too. You can't even read the lower right corner. Try to go for the highest contrast you possibly can. White to black is the highest contrast you can possibly get. Color Wheel is a graduate level course. They have whole courses in color choice. As a general rule of thumb, if you choose colors from opposite sides of the wheel, they're going to look good together. And if you choose them from the same ring, they're going to look good together. So opposite sides is a nice little rule. You could also divide it into 4 and do the quadrants, pick 1 from each corner. Those 4 are gonna all look very nice together. You don't have to think too much. So if you're not a color designer, you just wanna pick 2 or 4 colors, opposite sides or the 4 corners in any angle will get you 4 colors that look very nice together. And if you have a logo, a business logo, pick one, anchor one of those points at your business logo color, and then choose the other 1 or 3 off that, and you're gonna be great. There are other rules too that you can use to make them look good, but those 2 are some of the most basic to get you started. Lastly, in color, pay attention to color blindness, especially on bad projectors. But this is one written by Gregor Aish. I would highly recommend if you have kids looking him up. These are not the standard ones he redesigned, the standard color blindness for kids who may not know their numbers yet. Because most of them are based, colorblind tests are based on numbers. So in this case, the upper left, can anybody see that? I know the contrast is horrible. It's a tree. It's a Christmas tree, right? There's a dog, there's a boat, there's a duck. There's things that kids are gonna get before they may know their numbers. How many people in here are colorblind? Know they are colorblind, identified. There's one in the back. That's actually low. I'm betting there's at least one more.
I have a question.
Sure.
I don't think I was ever colorblind except for today.
Yeah, that's fine. This is the bad projector. The bad projector doesn't show the distinguishment. You should look online or in a book, especially in print, where they can control the colors to know. But 10% of men and 2% of women are colorblind. Most of those are, especially the men, are red-green colorblind, which makes it horrible for driving, especially if you go internationally. There are other forms of color blindness. Women typically are not red-green, but there are a few. So pay attention in your color choices to who your audience is, because it's guaranteed that at least one person, in this room there should at least be 2, just based on the numbers, that are actually colorblind. Okay. If you don't have time in your presentation, simple black on white looks pretty good. In some ways, I think white on black looks just a bit classier. And that takes no time to design, right? It looks a little classier, but it is dark. So you have to kind of counter for that. So if you don't like the dark, then this one has a little bit of a shadow behind the black. Just a little bit to pop the letters off so it doesn't look quite as I just threw this presentation together. But one concept on the slide, very clean, very easy to read. So fonts, ideally only use 3 or 4 font sizes in your presentation. Sometimes that's hard to do. And notice the tiny little print at the bottom. If in doubt, use the monitor size rule. So for example, you don't know what screen you're going to be walking into, right? Very often you have no idea if it's not a venue you've worked in before. So one of the things you can do is say, well, this monitor here is actually, because we're squared off, 13 inches. So I should stand 13 feet away from my monitor. If I can't read it, your audience won't be able to read it either, regardless of your projector. So 1 inch equals 1 foot, and use that rule to figure out how far and what your font size should be. If you can't read this from 13 feet away from that laptop, that font is too small. That's how you can decide kind of font size. Make sense? 1 inch for a foot, or a foot for an inch. Font typeface. These little things on the bottom, or the M on the bottom, the serif, They are generally harder to read on screen, so going with a sans serif or a font without those little dangly things makes them easier to read. So the first 4 are sans serif. The bottom is a serif font, so try to use sans serif fonts. There are exceptions to that. Please don't use any of the crazy, nasty stuff. It's fun for a little bit, unless you're presenting to kids, and even then, let's teach them good behavior too. Animation, just a word on animation, because people typically ask about this. So you'll notice I didn't have one slide transition in here, anywhere, not one. My view of animation is that you use animation to help you tell your story and nothing more. Because animations are distracting. If I had this spinning out and then spinning in and then flipping out and flipping in, people get more distracted with the transition than the message. And that's not what you want. You want your message to sing. All of these things are about making your message stand out from the slides. So in this case, I asked the question, and I'll ask you guys, how old do you think the recipe is? The recipe that we use today in cookbooks and everywhere else, when was the first recipe ever written down?
To recuse myself.
Give me a number.
1800.
1800s, older.
2000 BC.
2000 BC. Anybody else?
3000 BC.
3000 BC. Well, it turns out that the recipe is over 3,600 years old and was written on clay tablets and cuneiform. And it looks exactly like the recipe we use today. It hasn't changed in over 3,600 years. Actually, they found a new one that was 100 years older than that, so that number is now 3,700 years. So that animation helps me tell that story, right? It shows very visually that time difference. Here's a different form of doing that same animation. I can say, if I'm comfortable, most people are probably going to go back to 200 years or 300 years, some number like that. I can go and say, hey, that recipe, how old? Slide it off to the side. It's actually older than the printing press. It's actually older than the current method of numbering. It's over 3,600 years old, right? So if that's a predictable thing, most people say the same things over and over, I can probably use some transition like this, which is a slide transition, versus the other, which is an actual reveal animation. So those are good ways to help you tell your story. Here's one, again, from a client presentation. You would think that something's happening on the 18th. Nothing has to do with that calendar that's behind there. It was a cute addition, but pointless. It would have been a perfect example for them to be able to build a timeline in and maybe an animation in. So putting it all together, I have this slide. This is a slide from another client of mine. What's wrong with this slide? See if you can pull it out.
Red and black.
Sans serif, or actually serif. It's serif. It needs to be sans serif. Yeah. Different? Yeah.
But no contrast.
No contrast.
Yeah.
And I'm going to call that out because that contrast shows up in here. Every word on here is bold. Every single word is bold. Why would you bold every word? Is every word that important? It's too small. You probably can't read that from the back of the room, or barely. There's so much going on here. Too many words, too many points. And actually, there is only one point to the slide. It doesn't look like there's one point to the slide, but there is one. And that's that difficult problems can be solved with interacting agents that learn or adapt. That's the one point. Everything in the middle is examples. So my redesign of this looks like that. Same exact stuff. He had 7, I cut it out because I like the 6. It lined up prettier than the 7. It wasn't important because they were examples. Pulled the key line of text in. Everything else is images that I can talk to and make the point of these systems that interact with each other. Quick, clean, easy. That took me 5 minutes to do.
To make it easier to read, I would have thought you would have made the background of the interacting agents part gray and text white.
You could do that. That would be a perfectly good thing to do. I like the pretty colors and the images. Yeah. So, but that is a perfectly good choice too. This was a 5-minute design. You could easily say, a lot of things could be improved even on this. But between that and this, for 5 minutes worth of time, it's worth every one of you spending 5 minutes to think about your slide and redesign it. And that included the web search time to find those images and credit them. We don't have time to go, but I would highly recommend you take a look at Thirst. Go out and search This was a winning presentation on slideshare.net. Go out to slideshare.net, search for this presentation, go through it. You'll find that you don't need the speaker. It's an incredibly powerful presentation. And I have 2 announcements to make. So that is the end, and then we can do Q&A. One, you all have little things on the table, and if you need extra ones, these. In 6 weeks, I'm running a conference of visual thinkers, people who teach stuff like this. It's all hands-on. I'll be running a presentation workshop. There will be people doing mind mapping and sketching and visual note-taking, information graphic design. So if you want to learn more about how to change your message effectively using visuals, come to this conference. It's $125 for regular people, $50 for teachers, $25 for students, and students count through like 9th grade and up. So good deal, you can't beat it. It's over in Birmingham. Don't normally do a local one, so that's a good one. We're bringing in people from all over the country. And last announcement, Derek mentioned this way up at the top. Happy hour for iPhone is out, so if you need that, you don't want to drive home in the snow right now and you want to waste a little more time, you can pull it up right now on your iPhone and find out the great deal on a happy hour near you. And I don't know, Connor's doesn't have one going right now. Phonology does have a 7-hour happy hour that starts at 11 a.m. So I know they're on, if not others. That's it.
All right, let's give Tom a round of applause. No time for Q&A?
All right.
No time for Q&A?
Come up to me after if you have questions.
Yeah, come skim afterwards. We're not going to have time for questions. So we all get to download this app and go drink the rest of the day. So just forget about work. I'll write a note to your boss. Alrighty, so now we're going to do introductions. And can you please stand up, give us your name and your company, or if you're looking for something like a job or maybe you're hiring, you can let us know, and then pass the mic to your friend, and we'll go all the way around the room. And we're going to start over here with this young lady Laura Kirshner.
Hi, I'm Laura Kirshner, and Derek's my boss. I work at Gen X, and I'm the client experience manager. I do have an ask or announcement. We are hiring for a new position or a new web designer, preferably someone who has good experience in WordPress and possibly Drupal. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Mary Lou with LA2M. Welcome, everyone. And thanks, Tom. That was really good. I'm sure everyone benefited from that. There was something to take away for everyone in the room. And we've got a really great speaker next week. I'm sure you all are all looking forward to that. Hope to see you back next week.
Hi, I'm Lauren Schneider. I'm one of your LA2M live tweeters and the social media coordinator at Gen X.
And I'm Erin O'Neill. I'm the content producer at Ingenix Digital Marketing, as well as one of the LA2M live tweeters.
I'm Roger Rayle. I do the live streaming and recording here and several other networking groups around town. And I'm gone next week, so Bill Hall's going to do the video for me next week. Stand up. You know,
That's Phil Hall. I'm Bud Gibson. I created the search marketing program at Eastern Michigan University. Really enjoyed today's presentation and always learned something, particularly the point you made today about it. Presentations are all about creating a common space between you and your audience.
Hi, I'm Ashley Frashoni. I was an intern with Ingenix Digital Marketing, but since Laura is pregnant, she's going to be leaving soon, so I'm going to be taking over as the account manager there.
She's coming back.
Yeah, I mean, she's coming back, but while she's gone, I'm going to be taking over. There you go.
Hi everyone, I'm Elena. I'm also an intern at Ingenix Digital Marketing. Thanks, Tom. You had some really good ideas to digest, so thanks.
Hi, I'm Krisha. I'm an intern at Ingenix and a master's student in public relations at Michigan State.
Hi, I'm Amanda Prouty. It's my first time here. I work for a company called Coherent. We specialize in 3D vision for manufacturers.
Hi, my name is John Gary with MyBuys. We're located here in Ann Arbor. We sell services for online retailers, and we are looking to hire technical folks, client management folks, and sales folks.
Hello, I'm Kevin Packard from Foresight Group, print solutions that deliver.
I left my presentation prompter at home, so I don't really know what to say here. My name is Justin Gibson. I work with Sandler Training here in Ann Arbor. We actually do have an event for business owners coming up on Friday, so if you have any questions about that, feel free to grab me afterwards. Thanks.
My name's Alyssa. I'm from Curve Detroit. I actually showed up super late right before it ended, so if anyone has any idea of how I can get a crash course of this, that would be fantastic.
Haley's Tomato, good job.
Hi, my name is Leslie Gotch. I am a registered nurse looking to reinvent myself into the health and wellness industry.
Hi, I'm Glenda Haskell. I am a career and small business coach and a speaker and presenter, and I wanted to thank you for a wonderful presentation.
Hi, my name is Jordan. I help out with the marketing at Dexter Builders.
Good afternoon, my name is Dr. Thomas Blackwell, principal owner of LA2M International. That's a train and development.
My name is Tom Adams. I have a company called Mobile Mentor. We do mobile marketing, mobile coupons, mobile gift cards, and mobile ticketing.
Hello everybody, my name is Jim Uziel and I help companies and individuals with their web and mobile development.
I'm Bill Kirschbaum from Text Writing. I help small companies deliver a better customer experience to an area that's often neglected.
Hi, I'm Samantha West. I work in the marketing department at Bank of Ann Arbor, and my primary role there is graphic design, so I really appreciated your presentation. It was fantastic. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Amy Ma. I work in two areas. One is in energy with microgrid and alternative energy. And another area is actually a very ambitious web project that deals with children's books publishing and marketing high-value, major, significant, sustainable gifts.
Hello, I'm Josh Jones. I'm a workforce consultant and I'm in the process of trying to transition into marketing research.
Hi, I'm Jen Goldforth, and I'm a horse trainer and a mouse whisperer. And I work at the University of Michigan in research. And out of what I do at U of M, I've developed a product that makes anesthetizing rodents safer for people. And I actually hired somebody to help me with that presentation. It was well worth the money. And then watching today's was really helpful too.
Hi, I'm Greg Merriman, and I'm a local entrepreneur, and I'm currently working on the next generation of a computing interface for the contextual
Hello, my name is Janice Melvin. I'm a marketing consultant, and I provide visual content for websites. So all the individuals that spark up your content and stories.
I'm Amy Matthews, and I work for 360 Photo. What I do is I bring interactive virtual tours from Google into your business, and we depict what your business looks like on the web.
Tina Walter from Innovative Marketing, Report Innovative Marketing. We do a lot of different things. One of the things we kind of specialize in is helping new businesses or small business rebrand themselves, come up with logos, websites, colors, just create. They're in the business of sharing their dream, but they don't know how to get it out and make it look and feel the way they want it to.
Hi, I'm Shannon Kolitz. This is my first time here. I own a video and animation production company, and I specialize in animation.
Hi, I'm Leslie Arwen from Alphabet Galleries. I'm the art director, and this is our app to teach kids how to do letter tracing. We're going to be in the App Store tomorrow.
My name is Eric Harrington. I'm with Green Advantage Consultants. Actually, I am Green Advantage Consultants, and we help businesses gain a competitive advantage in the marketplace through going green.
And I'm Anita Harrington. I'm in natural resources, and I'm currently looking for a job.
I'm Perry Schilling from Print Studios, and I'm a commercial editorial and portrait photographer. And images in today's meeting will look on the group's Facebook page.
Thank you, Carter. And let's have one more round of applause for our fun, valuable down the road. Next week, our speaker is Laura Galloway. And you will find her at Mom Biz Coach, which is her website. She is well known nationally as an expert in marketing for entrepreneurs. So she has a really outstanding background. She'll be talking about the value of podcasting as a part of your marketing mix. So it's something I don't think we've covered at LA2M before, so it'll be completely new information, and I know that you'll all find something very valuable in that talk as well. So thanks for coming out, and our sponsor for this particular event was Let's Go Social Media Marketing, and Leslie's not here, but we do appreciate her sponsorship. And next month will be Tom with his event that's coming up in April. So thanks for coming, and hope to see you next week.
Very smooth.
Yeah, I think Derek.
I mean, that's 13. Which way is it?